Hello everybody. I just wanted to take a moment really quickly and share my latest crazy ass build. I haven't shared anything in a while, not since the Zergberg coffee table PC, which was that the one where I took 38 USB hard drives all over separate controllers and turned it into a single storage spaces array. So that was a fun one, but not quite as crazy as what we have here. What we have is a 3090. This is cooled by the Optimus water block, which is very, very nice. It's about 5 pounds. What we have, I have it in a horizontal orientation, but sort of in a vertical mount styling. So if you look in the very back there, I don't know if it's going to focus in on that. That is an Optimus mounting bracket for their AM4 water block. And then up in the front, and there's also one sort of in the back there, which you can kind of see, is I've made these stilts, which we're using to hold it up. Sorry, let me try and re-zoom in here. There we go. So these are actually part of a kit for a monsoon radiator, but ever the bargain bin hunter, I kind of repurpose older parts a lot of the time. So these are actually a nice chromed out look, which is going through a couple of different adapters, and then it's kind of sort of mounting down directly to the platform, or to the sort of base. So we have an Optimus water block for a 3090. It's an EVGA for the Win 3 Ultra. And then we have the EK magnitude full nickel in the center there. The only reason I went with that is because I really didn't want an acrylic top or an acetal top CPU water block, so that's kind of the way I went. And again, you can catch it on sale and it's not too horribly expensive, and kind of right in the same vein of what I would pay for the Optimus one anyway. So what you'll see though is if you kind of look at the way I have everything sort of routed in here, they're all kind of going to a 90 and then to a single fitting. The fittings here, the 90 are the EK quantum vectors, and then those are the Optimus fittings. The quality on the Optimus fittings is actually really incredible, but the quantum are also just fine. But these actually fit within sort of the design language a little bit more. Everything else is black on black, but we ended up going with a kind of a softer sort of nickel titanium kind of look on the inside, and I actually think it looks pretty cool. But you see it kind of just looks like a sort of like a little engine assembly I got going on in there. Everything is so tightly wound that there's really no way. Everything is like fastidiously cable managed and everything, but there's no way for me to change any of it at this point. So it kind of all has to go in one order, and if I want to make any changes, I basically got to take the whole thing apart, so that's no fun. This is the Asus Impact 3. So it's DTX, which basically just means it has this extra chunk here. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting you can't see that. This part here. So instead of kind of stopping at the PCI Express bracket, it kind of goes a little bit further, and that gives them just a little bit room for the audio controller down there. And then of course off to the side here we actually have a Dark Power Pro 12, I believe, by Be Quiet. I mainly chose it because it doesn't look hideous. It's a newer power supply. It's a nice clean design language. It's 1200 watts. Which I just need a little bit more breathing room than the 850 I was planning to run until a 3090 was about all I could get a hold of. The top here, you'll see, so again I have the 3090 sort of in a horizontal mount, and then I have to apologize for the reflection. This is known as solar glass. It's the kind of stuff that you put in sort of the outside of a house where it's like glass along a whole wall. So it's sort of got a little bit of smoke to it, but it's mainly reflective. It's very, very reflective. So I'll try and keep the camera at a little bit of an angle, but you can see sort of the cable management, and it's really hard to get under there just to see how well all of that is run. But anyway, this was a custom cut top, which isn't as expensive as you would think it would be. And then of course it's mounted in Sorry, trying to look through the light instead of looking through the side. We have these brackets which have a Teflon top on them, and then there's some silk, some sort of pink silk thread on the bottom that they're sort of running through. This is all aesthetic vanity parts. It doesn't actually do anything. We could have made it do things, but that would have been kind of wasteful. It's on both sides. Again, I kind of hunt. You can get stuff like this for older chipsets for peanuts on the sites where you generally shop for this type of modding or performance equipment. But you can find, these are old like X59 and stuff chipsets, which you can find these old so this is a full copper block with an acetal top, which you can then just mount down. So it's just something to give it a little bit of unique flair. So coming around the side here, we have the Optimus Rad pump combo. It's a D5 PWM. It's insanely overbuilt, but I love it. I did my best to, as I mounted this, I put a little rubber behind it to try and soak up some of those vibrations, but really it's not all that bad. I run this roughly about 50% all the time, and you can't really hear it. And then of course there's a whole second one just right there. They're sort of running in tandem. It buys me a little bit of extra head pressure, but it's not really distinctly necessary. But it was something fun and cool to do, so we went ahead and did it. Underneath, basically all my cable management is running down here, and I know it's kind of hard to see because there's not much of a space. This whole gap is only I don't know, about 2 inches. So basically all of the SATA power, all of the Molex, because unfortunately this one right here is actually the Razer Chroma RGB controller, which has some rather negative reviews online, but I think it's working swimmingly. I think a lot of the problem is people just not necessarily, with all the changes to RGB strips and controllers and other things, not necessarily understanding what's compatible and what's not. But any addressable / digital RGB, the 4-pin with the 1-pin removed should work. So it's working great for me. And I actually embedded RGB strips into the actual radiators themselves. So each one has 2 separate strips. They're not down firing. They're just that friggin' bright. And it's really hard. I don't even know if I can get. Yeah, so you can see under there. So they're side firing. And this is all controllable separately thanks to our Razer strip there. So then we have, right now I've just kind of got it set to a green, like a soft green, but you can see it's underneath these smaller rads. These are the PEs, as you can kind of see. So I've got 2 PE 240s, and then 2 XEs up at the top here. And the XEs are in push-pull. So when you look inside the case, you'll see embedded into the wood are on either side, it's pushing. And then we've got pulls on the back. These are actually fake Girl Scout badges that my wife got me that they make in the UK. Those are for time travel, of all things. But it fit the design language. So, kind of if we're following our tubing around, kind of interconnected, and then we're going this way. This is actually the Wi-Fi for the motherboard, but it's magnetic, so it could just kind of pop on there. And then we're sort of going into the, the rads on the bottom there. Then we're sort of coming off to the side. It's on Rainbow Vomit right now for my wife. I'm not a really big fan of RGB, but she has sort of some requirements for computers that we have. So right now it's turned on to Rainbow RGB just to kind of show you the unicorn vomit. But again, that's separately controllable from all the other clusters of RGB, which, by the way, I missed one on the inside of the case that I'll have to swing back around. This is also a random came out of one of these kits, and it was, you know, it's just a milled piece of aluminum, which I then coated in a high gloss with a little bit of glitter in it. Which I guess brings us to the case itself, which is the pinkiest pink from Anish Kapoor, or not Anish Kapoor, I guess it would be. So it's got like 5 coats of that, and then a bunch of coats of this high gloss with sort of glitter in it. It's, you know, with everything going on, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's extremely pink. It's so pink the camera honestly can't pick it up, which is a little interesting. As we swing back around, I forgot there's one RGB strip on the bottom, which I currently just have set to white. And then we've got 2 of the new Western Digital 850 Gen 4 SSDs. As far as specs, what you might care about, oh sorry, it's a 5800X is what's in there. I had ordered a 5950 mainly because that was the one originally that I had on order through the whole B&H issue, and then they told me it was going to be like 6 months, so I ended up picking up a 5800H or 5800X relatively quickly. So that's what's in there, and honestly that's all you need for gaming anyway. I don't know, I really don't think you can see any of the cabling or any of the rest of that back there. Excuse me. This, by the way, is just a magnetic fan filter. It offers me a little bit of access in here, but honestly not much. So as far as temps are concerned, by the way, the whole footprint of this is about the size of a sheet of paper. It's extremely dense. It's very, very heavy. But it was really a thought experiment in how much I can kind of cram it together, but not do a tiny RTX build. If you give it that little bit of extra, how much further can we get it, and then give myself all that breathing room. So to have an oversized power supply, to have a ridiculous water block, to have, you know, 4 separate rads, but still have a really tiny footprint. That's kind of what I was aiming for. So it's very unique. I don't know how often you'll see much like this at all. The GPU runs 40 or under at full load. So, you know, if you're running, you know, 3D Mark or something like that, it doesn't even really go past 20. But if you're running Call of Duty and rest of that stuff, and you're just trying to really kind of choke it up, you can definitely get it up in the high 30s. The CPU, just due to the chiplet design, does not run quite as well. Also, you're not going directly to the die, right? So that's in the 60s territory. So low 60s is kind of where we're sitting. And again, that's at full load. So I have not done any crazy overclocking with it, even though the For the Win 3 does support the higher end BIOS for I think up to 450 watts on the 3090. Or it might be 550. I'm not sure what the last round was. But I haven't really done anything with it since I kind of got it up and running. So there you go. One really weird pink, super pink, super RGB, kind of crazy 3090 build with a horizontally mounted, but not really, 3090 with an Optimus. Everything's full size / oversize. And it's just really neat, and it runs cool, and it runs quiet, and there you go. So thank you for watching. Sorry for the really shaky camera, and bye.